Interestingly enough, different are responsible for different types of taste buds. The very tip of the tongue is responsible for salty flavors. Salt is important because our body does not naturally produce it, and thus it is in the taste buds. Just a little behind it is two flavors. First, there's sweet, which signals the presence of sugar. Sugar is because it gives us a source of energy throughout the day and is a very foundation of our body. Also, there is umami, aka savory, which is a delicious taste. Not much is known for its purpose, but it's best described as savory, a taste and rich flavor released by cooking, curing it, or aging. On the sides of the tongue are sour tastes. The reason why we have sour taste is not 100% known, but it's suspected it's originally a signal that food was decomposing or was potentially unsafe to eat. And in the very, very back is bitter, which contains antioxidants. This is meant to prevent us from eating poisonous treats, which, yeah, don't eat poison, kids.
Sensory information is taken from the taste receptors and transmitted to the cranial nerves. The facial nerve transmits information from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, while the glossopharyngeal nerve transmits taste sensations from the posterior third of the tongue. Then the vagus nerve, which is actually a paired cranial nerve, transmits this information back to the thalamus, which sends the information for gustatory processing to the somatosensory cortex. Vagus nerves can also transmit information in the opposite way from the brain to the tongue. Each of the 5 senses of taste are stimulated by a different component. Sodium ions activate salt receptors, glutamate activates umami receptors, acids activate sourness, and sugars activate the receptors of sweetness. Bitterness, the most sensitive of tastes, is activated by various bitter ligands, an ion or molecule attached to a metal atom by coordinate bonding.
I've got this taste in my mouth.
Of course, despite the miraculous wonders of the human mouth and the importance and joy that taste brings us, there are those who unfortunately cannot indulge in such a manner. Hyperglycemia, I don't know how to pronounce this, I'll just roll with it, is a disease that affects the tongue, giving it a reduced ability to taste. This is not to be confused with agweza, I don't know, just roll with them, people, which is similar, but instead gives the victim no ability to taste. Sounds horrible. How can this happen, though, one may ask? Well, it's rather simple, really. There are a number of causes, such as diseases like Bell's palsy, which directly damages the neurological systems within the tongue, allowing it to not taste as well, or not at all. Who knows? Another way this can happen is a deficiency of the vitamin B3 and zinc, which causes problems and damage to the endocrine system. And of course, there are other miscellaneous reasons too, such as dentures, so watch out for you old people, and tobacco, which, kids, this is why we do not chew tobacco.
Hi Grandma, how old are you?
I'm 67 years old.
Okay, and how long have you not been able to taste?
For about 30 years.
Why do you think you're unable to taste?
I've had several surgeries on my nose due to nose polyps, and scar tissues formed and therefore taken away my ability to smell or taste.
So now I'm going to ask Grandma to take a sip of each cup, and each cup has a different one of the flavors in it. So it's either going to be sour, sweet, umami, bitter, or salt. So after Grandma takes a sip of each cup, she's going to try to identify the taste. And after she's tasted from each cup, I will say what the real flavor was. So you can go ahead and taste from the first cup.
The umami?
Second cup.
Salty.
Yeah.
Kind of a lemony taste, but I can't really tell. I have no idea. That's a little salty.
So underneath each cup, there's the flavor that Grandma said it was. So the blue cup she said was umami, and it's actually sugar. I put in sugar, so it's the sweet flavor instead. The clear cup is salty, and she did say salty, so she was right about that one. For the yellow cup, Grandma said lemony, and the sense of taste was actually sour. but I did put lemon juice in that cup to make it taste sour, so she was right about the flavor, but not about the sense of taste. The clear cup with dots, she didn't know what that one was, and that one's actually, I put bitter coffee in it, so that was the bitter taste. And for the red one, she said salty for that, and it was actually umami, and I used soy sauce to make the flavor savory.
Called You Got Good Taste.
So now we'll be watching a video about super tasters, and super tasters are opposite from my grandma because they have 2 times more taste buds and because food has a stronger flavor.
This is just an ordinary strip of paper, coated in a chemical known as phenylthiocarbamide, or PTC. As an experiment, we're going to have different people around the office each lick a strip. That Hank's reaction was intense. Well, that means that chances are he's a super taster, with a higher sensitivity to the 5 flavors we know as salty, sour, sweet, bitter, and umami. It's a genetically inherited trait, and dominant, meaning that only one parent has to have the super tasting allele, or version of the gene, for their child to feel its effect. If the kid gets 1 copy of the allele, they're what's called a medium taster, with a slightly higher sensitivity. With 2 copies, they're a true super taster. It's difficult to measure taste sensitivity, and scientists still aren't totally clear how taste is read by the brain. But we do know that super tasters exist because they can taste things others can't, especially bitter substances.
Come on, come on.